Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Delve Podcast. Today, we're talking all about long-distance relationships. How do you do them? I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the Executive and Clinical Director at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
Please help us spread the word about this podcast. I know we ask every week, but please share the love, share with friends, share with family, share with whoever think would gain value from this pod. It's much appreciated.
I think we're supposed to ask people to like and review the podcast as well. Is that a thing? I don't know. I'm bad at this. I don't know if you're any good at this.
Sure.
I think we're supposed to tell them to do that.
Like, subscribe, comment, all the things. Why not do all the things?
Go into Spotify or wherever you get this from and add a little like, and then maybe it pushes it to some randos.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Do follow us on Instagram at Delve Psych Chicago as well if you're over on the gram. Here at Delve Psych, we offer individual, couples, group, and family therapy. If you're interested in a free consultation call, head on over to delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And don't forget to check out our Substack. We got some good blog posts over there, so check it out.
All right. Yeah. All those things. Please do them all. And, double it up. Do 2 of them.
Yay. Do everything, all the things, all at once. Okay. Long distance relationships. So this was your idea to talk about this. Well, I don't know if it was your idea or if someone requested that you talk about this, but it came from your brain parts. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I fairly constantly. Well, let me ask you this: when a friend or a client has ventured into the headspace of long distance relationships, how does a person tend to respond to that as a concept?
Oh, it's mostly negative. Like, oof, I don't know if I could do that. That's kind of like impending doom on a relationship if it goes long distance, or I don't know if I can sustain that.
And what do people fear about themselves or the other that would lead them to believe such things?
I think that not being around that person all the time, especially if you really crave that like physical contact with your partner. I don't know, I think people feel the loss of connection, and perhaps that loss of.
Well, they fear the loss of connection. If they're imagining being in a long distance relationship, but they have not yet been in one, then they haven't lost any connection. They just fear that they might lose it.
Exactly. They fear that sort of setup would lend to like loss of closeness, loss of connection, maybe possible infidelity. Like those are like the fears, I think.
Play with that one. So where's this infidelity fear coming from?
I think if people think that if they're not around their partners physically, perhaps like if they're not with their partner in a sexual way on a consistent basis, then that partner may stray.
Right. So I hope we hear all of this kind of distrust and skepticism and fear and even dependency in these kinds of framings, right? I do think that's an accurate representation of what people worry about. It's probably an accurate representation of what the listener might be worried about should they be listening to this. Have you known people who've done long distance relationships?
That's a great question. I don't know that I personally, off the top of my head, know anyone that's had a successful long-term, long-distance relationship.
Interesting. Perhaps ask around. I know many. I've seen it many a time. And we also used to have somebody, I can't remember if it was a former intern or if it was just a friend in the graduate program. I can't recall, but somebody was doing research on long distance relationships because graduate students, especially PhD students, very, very, very often get into long distance relationships. They have to move across the country to start their program. In clinical psychology, you have to move across the country to do your internship, and then you very often have to move somewhere else in the country to do your postdoc, and then you move somewhere else to do your job. And so you're often in up to 4 different places.
Right. And
And you
kind of,
and your partner can't always move with you.
right. Right. And so if you do have to move, um, for those reasons related to education, related to career, and the other partner is not able or willing to move, does that mean we gotta say goodbye? Does that mean it's
Yeah,
gotta
and
end right
and
there?
and my take is rarely that the circumstances would decide for us what must happen. The circumstances are going to impact the choices that we make, but we make choices, right?
Right. So like at the end of the day, like for instance, this fear of, oh, if I have a long distance relationship, my partner is gonna cheat or I may cheat or whatever. You don't trip and fall into infidelity.
Uh-huh.
It's an active, conscious choice.
And I wonder if those fears are there in that context, then one, how much monitoring are we doing of that other person to begin with? And two, how much skepticism do we have about that other person to begin with? And so it's sort of indicative of potential problems regardless of where the two of you live.
Right. It kind of shows the hidden insecurities, right? They may not be at the surface right now while you're like together living in the same place, but like they're there if that's where your mind goes. You know, if you're in like a fully trusting relationship, why would you think that of your partner? Um,
Right. And how do you deal with the uncertainty of your um, partner's behavior? Because there's always some, right? I mean, even if you go away for the weekend, your partner has opportunities to do things that you don't want them to do. How do you interact with those concerns? How do you interact with those fears
oh my gosh,
within
yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, you can't be around them 24/7 even when you do live in the same city. So
Right.
like
And
what do
it's
you
not
do
healthy
then?
to try.
No. What are you gonna do? Monitor them 24/7? Absolutely not.
The other
Um,
thing that I think that we don't talk as much about is that there are real benefits to long distance relationships because
hmm.
every partnership needs togetherness and apartness. Every relationship needs both things. Very often, excessive togetherness can be problematic for a relationship. It can lead to mundanity. It can lead to just like niggling little um, fights because there's this kind of belief that that they're not going anywhere because they're right there. They're not going anywhere. It can lead to complacency. It's like, well, tomorrow's another opportunity, so on and so forth. Whereas I think that long distance relationships do demand of you a bit of intentionality. When are we going to see each other? What are we going to do? How do we make this special? And my experience with long distance relationships was that very much the visits themselves often it was like constantly going on vacation with your partner in a way, which is nice. It's not reality. That's one of the downsides that people don't talk about, right? It's like you still have to figure out the mechanics of actually being together and living together, um, and that's a hard kind of transition to make subsequent to that, coming
Mhm.
back together being the hard part potentially. But the actual experience is like we're constantly in vacation mode. We're constantly in the let's be intentional and thoughtful about how to make this really special together.
Yeah. Yeah, not just a little bit of intentionality, but so much, all of the intentionality. Like if you have a long distance relationship, it is no longer a relationship out of convenience. It's no longer a relationship. It's like, well, this person's just here. They're just there. You know, you
Yeah.
really can see how committed each partner is to the relationship once it goes long distance. Um,
Absolutely. And you could spot the cracks, you could spot the problems. The concerns about infidelity kind of indicate the underlying trust concerns, the inconsistencies with respect to scheduling and planning, follow through, connection, conversation, communication, etc. Like all of those things are things that would show up in some way when you're actually in person, just probably differently. And but also again to the benefits. I talked about graduate students. Very often graduate students end up needing to be in long distance relationships. The graduate school is hard. I don't know if people knew that. And so it requires and demands of you long stretches of time when being present for a partner is quite difficult. Medical school is quite difficult, and there long periods of time when being present for your partner is quite difficult. And you still have to do it, but there's a difference between let's make sure that we get our 1 hour phone call in versus the hours that you might spend next to somebody um, if they were actually living with you. And there, in my experience, was a real benefit to these 3 weeks. I'm just going to be destroyed with work as I'm finishing, my dissertation, or I'm finishing a paper, or anything of that sort. And I might not be as accessible in the short term. But if there's that underlying trust of like, I'm going to come back, we are still going to talk, I am going to message you, but like, I just don't have as much time for you right now.
right.
There's that kind of like, but then we're going on vacation in a month to another new place. And that can be the point where we are sort of enjoying one another. It's much more sort of episodic in nature, and that can work quite well.
Yeah. And the time you do spend together is so much more like precious. You don't take it for granted. You're not just like on your phones on separate sides of the couch. Something also you
Absolutely.
something also you brought up, like that. I think this is true personally. The adage like distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
I think that's true because I think like the excitement and the build up anticipation of getting to see that person again. Um oh, it's so exciting. Then when you finally do come back together, so great. Versus when you like live with someone, when you see them all the time, there's no anticipation and build up. Like, yeah, you're excited when they come home. You're happy. Oh, hey, yeah, you're back home. But it's like it's different than the build up of excitement when there's been a long stretch of time when you haven't seen the other person.
Well, I have two things on this, kind of both directions. As for the like difficulty with the excitement and the complacency that can show up in a regular relationship, I demand of you to create that within yourself. Like you have to remember that joy, that excitement, and you have to take stock and take perspective constantly in your relationships for um the great fortune that you have found in being able to have this person and have this access to this person. And so I think when it's a random Wednesday and they happen to be coming over and you're tired and you're distracted and you're playing, whatever game it is, or you're interested in whatever show it is, like that thing needs to go off in your brain somewhere that says, I'm so grateful to have this person in my life. And I need to remember to access that and show that to myself and to them. And I think that's one of the bits of complacency that we allow ourselves to fall into far too often. Now, complacency is going to happen in a relationship when we see each other all the time. It's going to happen. Fine, but interspersed with moments of real like put everything away, stop for a second, hug them, and think to yourself, God damn it, it is so lucky to have you in my life right now. I might not tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't for some time previous, but you're here right now. And God damn it, that's awesome.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Being really intentional about not taking that person for granted and creating that gratefulness and excitement within the relationship as much as you can when you see each other all the time. Like,
Internally. And
yes.
there's often so much expectation that they do it for us. Why haven't you taken me to dinner lately? Or when do we get to go and do the fun thing that I want to do? Right? Like, stop all of that demanding and remember what you have while they're just like snoring and drooling next to you. Right? Like, God
Yeah.
damn it, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. And you make the plans. You make the surprise trip plans to somewhere.
Right.
Um,
So that's one thing. The other side of it that I was going to bring up is the sort of the excitement and the expectation of the long distance relationship. Again, one, it's fantasy, and you will have to eventually kind of reintegrate potentially. I mean, some people stay long distance forever, and I've heard of transcontinental marriages where people never intend to live together again, and that's fine. Um, we haven't talked about the fact that this works very differently in non-monogamous couples, and um, and consensual non-monogamy is like it's very comfortable with long distance relationships. Like, hell yeah, I'll see you when I'm in New York, and hell yeah, we're going to stay in touch. And I also have other relationships, so there's that side of things. But also, I think that we lack creativity sometimes to deal with some of these um concerns about connection and conversation and communication. And very often we need less than you would think you would need. As long as it's good and it's quality, uh, it often counts for a lot. And so I'll disclose I've done a number of long distance relationships in my days. I've done a number of the hardest and longest of distance relationships in my days. And I just overall would say that the distance wasn't the primary problem, wasn't even a major problem in many of those cases. And I'm telling you, like I've done internationally long distance relationships where the other person was in Africa or in Asia or in South America for significant periods of the relationship. In one case, the person was gone in South America for 6 weeks, no phone, no internet, no communicado at all whatsoever. There's like literally zero opportunity to communicate at all. I've had other experiences where the person was just gone for a while, but there was going to be very little contact in there. And some of the things that were quite valuable in this case, in the case of literally no communication, we both journaled to one another. And
hmm.
it's like you're talking to your partner. The brain kind of says, "All right, I buy it." It kind of allows you to sort of say, "Is it everything that I would want? No. Do I have to have everything that I want in a relationship to be happy? Let's look at that. But can I talk to them? Can I share with them? Can I exchange this journal when I see them? It do I miss them? Sure. Can I deal with that? I probably should work on that to make sure that I can. That's one thing. Another really helpful thing that I've seen in the past was what I call like the 8-minute phone call, where I've been incredibly busy all day. I've been working obscene amounts of hours, and then I had to see my friends who I never get to see. And so I just don't have as much time for you. But at the end of the day, when we're both exhausted, one of us because we're waking up, the other one because we're falling asleep, we get on the phone and we talk for 8 minutes. How are you? You doing okay? I know you're tired. It's just nice to kind of connect with you for a second. It's a the metaphorical I'm still here, and that can do so much.
Question. How did you
Yes.
decide on 8 minutes? That's very specific.
Actually, a former partner was doing that. They just kind of spontaneously did that. They would call, we would chat, and there was kind of this very natural, like, we're both exhausted. You clearly need to go to sleep. We're understanding of one another rather than demanding of one another. And I happened to notice that like 3 straight calls in a row were 8 minutes, and I was like, but I feel great, right? Like I know you're here. I know you're busy. I understand. And I was also incredibly busy, and that's what I could offer in those moments. And they felt great. And so, very often we think like, well, we have to be hanging out for 2, 3 hours on the phone and let's watch an epic series together. Do you need that? Are you sure? Or do you just need to know that they're there? Do you need to make sure that you've got some connection? Do you need a plan for the future? Do you need some periods where there's like longer conversations and some periods when there's just little mini ones? But we place so much expectation on it and so much demand on it that we start to make it into things that it's not, and we start to demand of it to be things that it can't be. But we do that in person too. It's just sometimes more obvious in long distance relationships.
Mm. Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
I beg of you to please.
Well, first of all, just to acknowledge, those are some really great ideas for people who are doing long distance. Really creative, awesome ideas. Okay, so as a listener, I may be thinking, okay, sure, Adam, maybe long distance can work. Some of these things that you're saying sound reasonable to me, sound doable. But I'm just the type of person, when I'm with someone romantically, like I need those pretty consistent puddles. I really need that physical touch connection with my partner, and I just feel like long distance would be too hard to keep up that sort of like romantic physical connection with my partner that I so crave. And so I don't think I could do it. I don't think it's right for me.
Yeah, maybe not. But I think about in some circumstances, I could imagine certain people just saying, I elect not to do this. But let's imagine that you've been with a partner for years and then they're moving to Idaho. And it's like, but I want to cuddle is your reason for ending a multi-year relationship that's working really well. I mean, can you encounter those feelings and work through those feelings and make sure that you're really examining for yourself what is necessary and what is desire and what is anxiety, and really piece that apart. We have all enjoyed the kind of epic love stories where the people have been apart for years upon years and then find one another, right? There's that romanticism side of us where we cheer for the couple who lost each other and then found each other again. And so I only hearken to the romanticism because I think there's a romantic element to having the person very close. But the movies never show us the mundanities of the relationship. They never show you like after the epic moment at the end of it and the I do's and the like riding off into the sunset. Then, 3 years later, they're just kind of laying in bed, farting and drooling, farting and drooling. And actually, if I remember right, there's some movie like, oh God, is it Bridget Jones's Diary or something like that? I'm terrible with movie references, but there was a sequel to it where they did show you the couple came back and they're just a regular ass couple. And I was so appreciative of them showing just the mundanity of it, the complacency of it, the messiness of it.
Oh, interesting. You're onto something with that like the more like, oh my God, like romantic whimsical movies are the ones where like there's this sequence of being apart, and then it's so dramatic when they come together again. They like run through the airport.
All right, yeah.
Now we can't really do that anymore with security and all, but they
Right,
used to be able
exactly.
to run up to the gate. Anyways.
Yeah. And then later that evening, they're like, you want tacos? No, I don't want tacos. Why don't we ever order what I want to order? And then like,
yeah, that's
and then
not
they
in the
get
movie.
yeah.
That's not in the movie.
So yeah. I mean, to make sure to stay connected to your original point though, too, so you either have a relationship and it's being threatened with long distance. I mean, look at the disloyalty of like, well, I can't deal with you being in Idaho. Come on. What have we been building here, and where are your loyalties and where are your commitments that you've already made that the other person just might be away for a little while or potentially for a long while? But like, have we really done the work to examine what that means for us and why we're so threatened by that? There's also the circumstance where maybe you don't have a person. This one's easier. This is way more of a slam dunk for me, which is like you've placed such demand on having somebody nearby but you don't have anybody. So that's not working. So I dare you to consider a different idea, right? Like if you don't have anybody, but you're like, nope, but they must live in the same city. We must see each other 3 times a week. We must make sure that we can always go to Thanksgiving at this particular place. Settle down with the demands on what it is. Open your mind up and examine for yourself why you have such demands on what it must look like in this kind of overarching meta sense.
So basically, if you're not finding a partner in your immediate vicinity, open your circle.
Yeah,
What you're
absolutely.
saying.
Absolutely. And if you happen to be one of the romantic types that believes in soulmates, one, let's talk. And two, how do you know that your soulmate isn't in Sweden right now? You don't know. So like if that's the way that you're thinking, why on earth would you believe that, whatever force put your soulmate in Hoboken with you?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Um, and I here's the thing. I feel like as a listener, the listener that I'm playing right now buys into the idea that like, okay, if there was an already established relationship, and you were like together in the same vicinity for a while, and then for whatever reason you had to do the apart thing, I think that there is so much, I don't know, of a foundation, and I don't know, uh, I don't know what the word I'm trying to find is, but basically that
Mhm.
like, yeah, if something is good and strong and real and worth it because you've already developed it, then okay, yeah, like a long distance relationship, like I'm not gonna just throw it away just because of that. But like, I don't know. I'm wondering your thoughts on like starting long distance, because that feels to me like a lot harder to get that same like momentum and growth in the relationship.
Again, I
I
think
don't
we
know.
try to turn it into something that it isn't ahead of time rather than actually just doing it and trying it. There are plenty of relationships that start long distance. And one of the things that we don't spend as much time talking about is the kind of like introvert or gamery cultures. But there are tons of relationships that start within introvert cultures online in a Discord chat. They're just chatting with one another and they live in different cities, but they play a game together and they get to know one another and then they start deciding to hang out to each other and they go to a comic-con together and they meet up there and maybe they're just chatting for like there's tons of relationships that start like that. Um, and so often we place such incredible demands on the right progression of the way to do things that we don't stop and look at the assumptions that we're making. There's tons of ways to start a relationship. Why keep an open mind here?
Hmm. You're making good points. You're making good points. Something I've also heard is like, let's say, um, someone does have to go away for um, their master's program or whatever it may be. They're being placed um, in a different city, um, and the other partner could reasonably move with them, but they don't wanna. And people are like, oh, well, if that person like really was invested in the relationship and really loved that person and really like saw this like relationship long term, then they would move for them type of thought about it. I think I know what you're gonna say, but I'm just I'm just curious because I know I've heard this. Like I don't know if you have, but like just this
Sure.
idea of like, come on, like yeah, you like your city, you like your friends or whatever in that city, but if like if you really were invested in this relationship, you'd go there. Nothing is actually truly holding you down in this other city. So oh, that just shows you're not really into this person or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key framing there is nothing is reasonably or seemingly keeping this person in place, but in whose estimation?
Yeah.
Because one person might have that view, the other person might have a very different view of the situation. One, how much are we talking about this in advance? That this is a thing that might happen
Yeah.
and that we might need to navigate it? Are we talking about that ahead of time and kind of getting a sense for what people are comfortable with? Um, Two, I usually find that the external forces are relatively clear as long as people are being reasonable about the situation. You know, a stable job is a reasonable thing to sort of be kind of beholden to, and especially in this job finding economy, it's quite difficult to find new jobs. So like, should we try? Sure. Is it going to be immediate? Probably not. Um, a family. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes people don't want to do long distance because their extended families in this particular area. And I get it. That's a reasonable reason to kind of stay put. Sometimes it's just, I love this city and I don't want to live in Idaho. I'm sorry, Idaho, but I would struggle there. I'm sure the potatoes are great. And your blue football fields are really cool, but like I don't think I would enjoy that. And so what are we considering as reasonable options to either go or not go? And what's the long-term plan and what are the long-term expectations?
Mm.
Um, Now, I will tell you, I can think of three couples now, one of which is the one that ultimately I made them get married. I was the officiant for their wedding. Did do long distance for periods, moved together for periods. In one case, I think moved to three or four different cities together. And I look at the flexibility in them. And in that, I see the backbone of relationship behavior that's gonna work and help, right? If I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit for you,
Mm.
that's probably going to be really useful when we're setting up our life and trying to make our long-term plans. And when we encounter new difficulties and struggles and again, it's sort of a balance, right? Like I'll sacrifice a little for you, you sacrifice a little for me. And as long as we're both doing that, I will say in all of the cases that I'm thinking of, the ways in which they were flexible were the very kind of strength that the relationship needed. And then the ways in which they were stubborn are probably the very kinds of boundaries the relationship needed.
Hmm. I think that was really well put. Any last thoughts on long distance relationships, making them work, approaching them? I really like the ideas you came up with of so romantic, writing those like journal entries to each other, doing the the small like the short phone calls, even if it's just 8 minutes. But what I'm hearing overall is just like the intentionality of it, whatever that is for you, to stay connected, because it does have to be more of an intentional thing to keep up communication and stay connected.
Um, let me try to remember one more example. This wasn't exactly a long distance relationship, but it's the kind of behavior that works in either long distance or near relationships. Um, so during COVID, one of the partners had family members. One of those family members was getting married, right? So it's like the wife in the heterosexual couple had to fly during COVID times to another state, and there was very open question about whether the other person comes additional exposure risks, responsibilities to the family at home, and those considerations as well. And ultimately, they decided to go separately. Super devastating, super sad. They don't get the one person doesn't get to go to the wedding and share in this joyous moment. What did the person who went do? She goes to one of those print shops and makes a life-size cutout
Stop.
of him and takes it to the wedding.
Stop.
And everybody takes pictures of, I'll call him Pat. Everybody takes pictures of Flat Pat, and he's like a part of the dancing, and they're calling him during the wedding, and like he's a part of it. He's there. Is he there? No, but he's there.
Oh,
You
it's
see that kind of behavior, right? That works. And that's how you can kind of be imaginative, be creative, be inclusive, be generous, be thoughtful, be excited for your partner, be involved. You can do that from far away.
I love that. That's so creative and thoughtful and funny. Yeah, it takes effort, right? And intentionality and forethought. And I love that. I also think, gosh, it's so great that we live in an age where we can just like FaceTime people.
Yeah, the
Um,
internet's fantastic and it's a real asset here. I know it's also a doomy hellscape, but things can be two things, and in this case, it's a real asset available to you.
yeah. So take
And
advantage
it's
of
a
that. Yeah.
and it's a fickle old thing. I will say, in one of those cases where I was in a long distance relationship with somebody across the world, we hadn't been able to talk for a while. I really missed them. They really missed me, as far as I could tell. And one day, they were like, we were chatting late at night on video, and it was getting dark and on their side, so they go to turn on a light switch, and because they were in a place with not the greatest infrastructure, as soon as they turned on the light switch, they lost the internet for 3 days, and we couldn't talk at all.
Oh
Right?
no.
But how do you deal with that? You remember, like, this person was trying to connect with me.
Yes.
They will be back. The internet will get fixed. Can I deal with my own emotions? That's very often the source of so much of
Yeah.
this difficulty, is like, my own emotions are making this an impossibility, which means it's not impossible.
That's all your own stuff, right? All your own insecurities and anxieties coming up. Because if you're
Dare to face
solid,
yourself.
yes, if you're solid and you're good in the relationship, like, yes, it sucks those 3 days of silence because you miss them, but you're not like worried that your relationship is not going to be there when those 3 days end, right?
Yeah. And
So,
how often have we worried that the relationship's not going to be there tomorrow when the person lived next door,
oh gosh, yeah,
when they were in the apartment upstairs?
there we go. All right, I think this has been a great conversation. Time for the quote of the day. Dun, 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 dun. Dreams are funny old things, but they're usually pretty irrelevant. I don't know. I think Freud would disagree with you.
I disagree right back with Freud.
Because it's funny because I've had clients like want to really like dissect dreams and like want to know what the dreams mean and everything. And
Yeah.
uh
Well, there it is again, that we're looking for these, deep answers from these metaphysical or otherworldly or disconnected places, instead of staring reality in the face and saying that very often dreams are a representation of our conscious thoughts and our conscious awareness that gets turned into the unconscious, rather than the unconscious revealing something to us that has been hidden all along. Now, there is an unconscious, and it does hold, um, uh, like, the term is the unthought known.
yes.
Things that I kind of know to be true, but they haven't been thought of before in an explicit sense. But there's evidence of the unthought known in your conscious awareness as well. I promise you're going to have better luck paying attention to your conscious mind than your unconscious mind. And I usually, in most circumstances, find that a vague references to particular themes or concerns or worries that show up in dreams were also evidenced in the conscious awakening mind
Right.
too, awakened mind too.
Yeah. Maybe we're just like ignoring it or trying to like push it down in the conscious mind. We don't want to deal with it, but
Sure. So if you spot a theme, fine, right? Like if you notice, like I keep dreaming about this, that, or the other, usually it's like, well, have you been worried about that? Yeah, great. That was a really interesting
great. There you
conversation.
go.
Yeah, figured that one out.
There's the
Right.
answer to your dream.
And also we should say, oh gosh, I can't remember if this is. I'm a little bit out over my skis on this piece in particular, but if I recall correctly, somebody please fact check me on this. There are a couple of different kinds of dreams. One is usually more kind of reasonable and connected. You ever have the dream where like you dreamt a Thursday and then thought it was Friday?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And you wake up and you're just discombobulated. That's one kind of dream that's super realistic and nothing strange happens. Then there's the other one where like your teeth melt into your face and the stairs turn into a hallway and then things are just in this distorted reality. And that's a very different kind of dream.
Mhm.
If I recall correctly, REM sleep tends to produce the much more kind of fantastical, whimsical, shape bending kinds of things where things are all over the place and they don't make sense. And non-REM sleep, if I recall correctly, creates kinds of sleep that are way more realistic. And so it might just be an indicator of the phase of sleep you're in.
Oh, I didn't know that. What about the kind of dream? Okay, this is a little bit of a side tangent, but okay, one time I was dreaming about something that was actually happening in real time, like across the city somewhere else. And when I woke up, I got a phone call that that thing happened. Does that mean I'm psychic?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's evidence that you are a shaman. So well done. Um, all right. So pardon me for adding the skeptical element here. I know it bothers people to be so kind of down to earth with such things, but why do we have such a difficult time with the idea of coincidence? Why is it like why are people so dead set on finding every other explanation aside from coincidence and conscious attention, right? Noticing.
Because I want to be psychic.
Okay, all right. Well, that's got me
No,
there.
no. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think people want to believe in like the magical and it's more fun that it's not a coincidence, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a logical fallacy here too. It's post hoc ergo propter hoc, which stands for after, therefore, because of. So because one thing happened and then another thing happened, the belief is that the second thing happened because of the first thing. So I did this and then that happened. I did this and that happened because I did this. That's the belief, right? But it's incorrect, right? One thing happens, then another thing happens all the time, and they have nothing to do with one another.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, sure. Yes. Adam's just killing all of our like excitement. No, I'm just kidding. But
I'm getting you excited about long distance relationships and the possibilities
there
that you
we
might
go.
find in your brand new relationship with your
Okay.
person in Sweden.
It's come full circle. And based on this quote, you know, I will say, you know, we don't do like traditional psychoanalysis here at Delve. That's not what's happening. So, you know. All right. Well, I really enjoyed this episode. I hope everyone else
Me
did.
too.
And if you're interested in our services, head on over to delvepsych.com, delvepsych.com. Follow us on all of the things. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. See ya.